welcome to our webinar entitled Faster, Better, Cheaper. Is AI really delivering in your contact center? My name is Michael Tamer, and you get to listen to me for what I hope is not a full hour. Hopefully it will take me less time to communicate the message that I have. And one of the burdens that we deal with in contact centers is that I wanted to start exactly on the hour because we all recognize and understand the concept of contact center minutes, right? So if there's 10 of us and we delay 2 minutes, it just cost us 20 contact center minutes. But at the same time, I also recognize the fact that in these webinars, it takes people a while to sign in. They don't sign in beforehand, they sign in at the time or they move afterwards. So how do I balance that space between beginning my presentation, but at the same time allowing people enough time to do it? And I guess I'm always one that says, you know what, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're history. So we're just going to go ahead and get started and we'll work from there. So welcome. And just a little background on us. Proponisi, we are a contact center SaaS provider. And hopefully you know us because you've listened to some of our podcasts before, but we build modules that help drive performance and engagement in the contact center. And we have a full suite of products that we provide. We have a feedback mechanism to do post-contact surveys, whether that be IVR or SMS, or whether that be email, in the measurement of the customer experience. We also have a complete platform that allows us to do quality and automated quality, and also post-interaction summaries, as well as real-time agent assist, and all the components associated with quality and engagement, and obviously AI-driven modules. We have a full LMS with a knowledge base that integrates, of course, with our real-time assist. And then one of the areas that I'm most proud of is our Thrive platform, which is our agent engagement platform, where we're recognizing the fact and seeing the fact that people are the most expensive cost in a contact center. And so we've built technology that engages the people to try to get the very most we can out of them, because let's be clear, we only get them for a season. Whatever the length of that season is, we want to try to get the very best out of them. And at a minimum, when they're done, whatever their season length is with us, our goal would be for them to say, you know what, the place that I worked in, it wasn't perfect, because there are no perfect companies. But you know what, I learned a lot. I was able to really help a lot of people, a lot of my customers. I enjoyed the interaction with my peers, and the leaders that led me knew what they were doing, and provided an environment that was something that was engaging and exciting for me. And I was better when I left than when I arrived. So I wanted you to also know I have a Contact Center Coach podcast. If you've not listened to it, I would encourage you to. I think there's 147 or 148 podcasts out there. They're all about 17 to 22 minutes on every leadership subject that you could possibly think of. And if there's some that I've missed, let me know, and I'd be happy to communicate those to you. So if you listen to this and you like me, go check out one of the podcasts. If you listen to this and you don't like me, go check out one of the podcasts anyway, because rather than me speaking for 45 minutes, it's only 18 to 22 minutes. So let's talk about this concept of, is AI faster, better, cheaper? And if you've listened to me before, I talk about this term a lot, this term of faster, better, cheaper. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about AI or any technology that you're talking about in the contact center. If it's not faster, better, cheaper, then it's a waste of effort, it's a waste of time, and it's not accomplishing what you need to accomplish in your contact center, because technology in the contact center ought to be faster, it ought to be better, and it ought to be cheaper. And so when we begin to look through this lens of AI to try to figure out whether it fits or not, this is what we're going to be charged with, is looking at faster, better, cheaper. Also want to make note of the fact that we do have a chat capability in the system. I know you've been on a webinar before, so you know about that. I would encourage you to chat if you have a question. I can talk a lot, and I can talk pretty fast as well. So if there's something that I say that you want more detail on, I'd be happy to stop. It won't derail me. It won't keep us from getting through the entire presentation. My target is 45 minutes anyway. So if you're looking for a way to get out a couple minutes early, don't panic. I will hopefully finish up in that amount of time. But if you have some questions or that you want to get answered, please let me know so that I can get those done. And if you want to practice on whether you know chat, tell me where you've been on, where you went on vacation this summer, and make the rest of us jealous. So let's keep going. So what does faster, cheaper mean in a contact center? Well, so I think there's 4 stakeholders that you have to worry about. And the first one, obviously, is the company. And the company's looking for operational efficiency and ROI. I mean, they're in the business of delivering service because they need to provide value to their customers. But at the same time, they're trying to do it as cost effectively as they can. And I actually believe that it's okay to say, I want to deliver the highest quality of service for the very least amount of cost that I can for my customers. That's valuable to them, and of course valuable to us as well. That's okay to say, because that is intentionally what we're trying to do. What's the very best service that I can give that delivers the value that I need to deliver, that's profitable to the customer and to me at the very least amount of cost that I can do it with? For the customer needs faster, better, cheaper, because they want faster resolution. They want better experience. If they're calling for some sort of a complaint, they don't want to be connected with you for very long. They just want to get their problem solved and move on. And they want it to be done with professionalism. They want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued. For the frontline agent in this whole new AI world, I mean, they just really want 3 simple things. They want a clear job description, right? They want to understand what it is they're supposed to be doing. They want the tools and skills necessary to do the work that they need to do. And they want a leader that has their best interests in mind, which is somebody that's on their side of the table. If they get those 3 things, then you're accomplishing what you need to for them. And faster, better, cheaper is going to mean that we're going to create an environment that's going to be less stressful for them, that's going to be more informative to them, that's going to give them an opportunity to be more successful. And for a contact center leader, which perhaps is you that's listening to this webinar, we're looking for insights and tools that I can use to drive my company, to drive my company to be more successful, to keep the people that I really want to keep around. And you know what? If the implementation of technology gets me some success, personal success, that might lead to a promotion, might lead to a raise, might lead to a bonus, all those things work together. And so all 4 stakeholders have a piece of this faster, better, cheaper. So what have we been sold? What is it we're talking about? I just left a trade show. I was out in Las Vegas. I don't know whether you went to the Las Vegas trade show, but there was so many people there and so many vendors. And it seemed like everybody was selling the same thing. And, dashboards and NLP engines and agent assist and bot. It was everywhere. And you know what? I am officially a dinosaur in the contact center industry. So please take my comments that are somewhat jaded with it. I was shocked. I was almost respectfully, I was almost even a little bit appalled by how little the people that were presenting their technology actually knew about the contact center, that actually knew about understood what they were really trying to solve. It was like they found this cool piece of technology and they created a whole bunch of features in it, and they were just dumping it on it, just blathering away on all the individual things that it could do. So, but the big promises are automation, right? And if you're in a contact center, that really means get rid of people. Even though we may whisper it, we're trying to get rid of people because they are our biggest expense. And so the technology has the potential to eliminate the number of people that are necessary to do the job. And let's be crystal clear. For 45 or 50 years, that has been the number one thing we're trying to do, is to do this job with the least amount of people. It's okay to say, you don't have to whisper it. That's okay. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And if technology can help us do that and still deliver great quality, we want to do that. The second promise is insight. I mean, just more information for people and customers, just more information, gobs and gobs and gobs and gobs of information. And then transformation, which is that with these gobs and gobs of information, we're going to be so much smarter, and it's going to be so cool, and we're going to make so many changes. It's really going to be great. So automation, insight, and transformation, that's what the big promises are. So what's the real world versus the hype? And again, this is my perspective on this. And that is that there's amazing potential with AI. I mean, obviously we have the technology, we're sharing it with you. We want you to, talk to us and learn more about us and let us share and understand your company better. But it's the AI really is amazing potential when done contact center smart. And I'll probably use this term a lot. And that's because you have to apply it being contact center smart, which means you need to get and understand the industry and understand what you're trying to accomplish to apply it and get the most out of it. And that's because there's a whole bunch of tools that are implemented, but sometimes the core inefficiencies don't change, which means that you are someone that always drives a car, always drives the speed limit, and you purchase a car that can go 150 miles an hour and you never go over the speed limit. So you've got this tool that would allow you to go faster, but you don't ever change the speed limit. And I'm not telling you to go over the speed limit. I, of course, always drive the speed limit no matter what it is. But you get the premise and the understanding. And then the third one is that everyone is not doing the same thing. So this really isn't a one size fits all. You are different. Your center is different. Your challenges with turnover are different. Whether your folks are in-house or remote are different. The pathway that you have for people from the front line to get into leadership is different. How you train them is different. The budget that you have to accomplish things is different. So every contact center is unique and different. So you have to apply the technologies to it. So it really isn't a one size fits all. So I love this case study. If you've listened to me before, I apologize. It'll only take me a minute and a half to explain it. But I want to go back and look at the application of technology of faster, better, cheaper in the very first example of automation in the contact center. And that was when IVRs were introduced. The very first place they were used was in the banking world. And if you were old enough to remember, prior to the IVR, in order to find out what your bank balance was, just to find out how much money you had in the bank, you either had to drive to the bank or you'd get online and you'd wait in line just to find out how much money you had. And they came out with this IVR that said, hey, listen, you know what? We've got a different phone number. And with this different phone number, you can call it, you can key in your account number and a passcode, and you get your bank balance. You don't have to wait in queue. You don't have to do anything. You can just get your bank balance, and you can check it 100 times a day if you want and find out what your bank balance was. And it was an extraordinary change, and people loved it. The offloading of this simple, easy call was done, and it was faster, it was better, and it was cheaper. It was cheaper for the customer because they didn't have to wait in queue. It was cheaper for the bank that was providing the customer service because all of a sudden they didn't have as many people to answer all these calls, and we were off in the IVR world. Faster, better, cheaper, no question asked. Fast forward 40 years or 50 years or whatever the amount of time is. Now everybody hates the IVR. I mean, across the board, universally, everyone hates the IVR. Why do they hate it? They hate it because it lost the faster and the better. Because we quit using the IVR to make it faster, better, cheaper for the customer. Because we recognize the fact that it was just flat out cheaper for the company. So we put in all these IVRs, which again, maybe you have a couple of ones that the customers love the IVR, there's self-service associated with it, but there's not a study I've seen that people don't universally hate it. And it's cheaper for the company, but it's not faster or not perceived as faster for the customer, and it's certainly not perceived as better. And you just have to be in any sort of jail in an IVR, and you can recognize that and understand that. And I experience that daily to this point. So we took something that was faster, better, cheaper. Again, technology applied to the contact center that hit the FBC check marks. And then 45 years later, it's the most universally hated technology that's in the contact center. So anyway, let's get into faster, better, cheaper, and take a look at within AI. I'm going to look at 4 different AI categories that are the most popular uses of AI in the contact center. So the first one is post-interaction summaries. And post-interaction summaries, if you don't know, is that in most instances, most contact centers require the representative to do some sort of a summarization at the end of the call. And that summarization can take anywhere from 5 seconds to 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. Many organizations in their AHT have their talk time, their hold time, the time that they place a customer on hold, and then they have post-call work time. And usually the post-call work time is used for implementing this post-interaction summary of some sort. But there are also a number of companies that don't have any sort of post-call work, and they expect the rep to do this summary within the call. Either way, there's time expended on that. Automated quality monitoring is the change from manual quality monitoring to where you're using AI to record 100% of the calls. So today you may use manual monitoring to do 4 to 8 calls. And then in this premise, you're able to do 100% of the calls using auto quality. Next up is real-time agent assist. And real-time agent assist is AI listening to the call live and then making recommendations or changes or issues that allow you to do the things that you need to do. So it might be presenting some sort of information. It might be sharing some sort of sentiment associated with the call, or it might be some sort of a checklist that allows you to walk through. But it is the use of AI for assistance, either where it's listening to the call and presenting to your frontline rep what their next steps may be, or it may be just presenting an alternative or allowing your reps to have access to find information that might help them through the call. And of course, finally, agentic AI virtual coaches is just the use of AI in an IVR-like mode, but where it has more capacity and more capability to interact with the customers and make decisions and do completion associated with it. So with that as an overall view, let's take a look at each one of these, and let's look at whether they're faster, better, cheaper, and what the impact is. So post-interaction summaries, is it faster? Absolutely, it's faster, because it reduces your AHT time, especially if you have designated post-call work time. And if you have designated post-call work time, it's going to reduce the length of AHT, even if you don't have any post-call work time and your reps are doing it in the call, which a lot of companies do this. Then your roses, which are your best employees, they're not affected by AHT because they can do 2 things at once. Your daisies probably every once in a while, and your weeds, which would be your lowest performing employees, and certainly your newest employees, your AHT is up because of the fact that they have to do this summary. In an AI environment, the summary is done for you and is automatically loaded into your account and loaded into that particular client's account. So what it allows you to do is to get exactly the information that you want 100% of the time, and there's no questions, and you reduce the time associated with it. So it's faster. Is it better? Yes, it's better because it's less work for the agents. It's one less thing they have to do. You're going to get more accurate information, and you're also going to be faster service for the customers, because if I can eliminate time, then I have more people available to do more work. Hopefully that makes sense. So now let's take a look at our first cheaper. Is it cheaper? I've got some different examples in here. Maybe you can relate to them, maybe you can't. But let's go for the monster first, and then we'll work our way back. So if I have 1,300 agents in the system, if I've got 2 million calls a month, talk time of 4 minutes, and it takes me 10 seconds to do the call summary notes, and I can save that 10 seconds because AI is going to take that 10 seconds and it's going to it's going to eliminate that time, and I'm going to be able to save it, and I'm going to use an agent hourly rate of $22. So just so you know what plus standard benefits are, that's their hourly wage plus standard benefits usually run between 30 and 35%. Totally up to you to pick whatever that number was. So if it was $20 an hour, then the number would be $6 on top of that. That would be $28 an hour would be a good number for standard benefits. So you can see with my 22, I'm pretty far down there in the hourly wage. So for the most part, most people, unless you're offshore, $22 is probably right on your number or on the low end, again, based on your benefits. So what's the return on investment to put in technology to do post-interaction summary for this particular example? Annual ROI, 123%. It pays itself back in 5.4 months. And the return of money to the organization each year is $808,000. It saves $1.466 million in people savings. If you thought it's okay, well, Michael, but yeah, what does it cost? Well, you just have to subtract the 1,466 and the 808 to get an understanding about how much money it costs you, how much you're spending in order to do that. But just so that we're kind of clear, if you were to take those people savings and divide them by 12, that'd be about $120,000 a month in people savings. If you did that calculation pretty quick, you're at about $600,000 of annual cost for the technology. Divide that by 12, $50,000. That means you're spending $50,000 for the technology each month to save $123,000 or somewhere in that vicinity. So it's an extraordinarily blow your mind number when you begin to look at this, if you have that kind of a number available to you. And I'll tell you right now that this singular capability, this alone, can pay for all the AI automation that you would ever want. Everything that you would want to do, this one post-interaction summary, ability to be able to reduce the volume pays for so many things, and we'll see that as we're going forward. So I'm going to just stop here for a second, see if anybody has any sort of questions. I assume I explained that absolutely perfectly, but I'm sure there's something I might have missed. So before I go on to the next one, because they're all going to follow a similar process, and I want to make sure that we're covered. So unfortunately, I can't see your chat, so I'm just going to hold on here for a second and ask Kevin if we have any sort of feedback or any questions associated with that I might need to answer.
Not at the moment, but maybe give it 10 seconds, see if any come through.
All right. Well, we could give it 8 seconds or 12 seconds and still cover it. So anyway, so that's post-interaction ROI. Kevin, you can interrupt me if you need to, if somebody has a question. So let's move on to automated quality monitoring. Now what this is because we're doing transcriptions, we have the ability now to be able to score 100% of the calls. So working with your organization, you take your present quality monitoring form and you begin to look at how you can change that, take advantage of AI to make sure you're answering the questions that you want to answer. But again, with quality monitoring, because of the fact that it's technology, you can ask as many questions as you want. So it's not tied to, well, you know what, I have X number of people that have to do the work. We really only want to ask, 15 questions because it just takes too much time. You can ask 30 questions. I can ask questions about the rep. I can ask questions about the process. I can ask questions about the customer experience. I can analyze and get feedback on the customer experience. I can analyze the sentiment. There are so many different components that are added to the ability to do this that automated quality monitoring buys you. So is it faster? Of course it's faster, because instead of getting 4 to 8, I can now get 100%. And again, based on whether you're doing some sort of batch results or whether you're doing some sort of live interaction where you are listening to the calls live and using AI in a live environment, you get immediate results. Immediate results up to and significant for things like compliance. Because today we have this fear of somebody falling out of compliance, again, based on your organization. Well, I can note compliance actually when it's occurring, or non-compliance when it's occurring, and then I can do something about it or not do something about it. It's completely up to you as to how you want to do it, but you get immediate results, so it is faster. Is it better? Well, yes, it's better, but it's only better, kind of depends on how you work today. If you're collecting 4 to 8 calls today and you're not doing anything with them, and you don't coach off of them, you don't share the data with your frontline reps, except for maybe once every couple of weeks or maybe once a month, or you're really the kind of organization that just looks for them doing something wrong, and if they do something wrong, you pull them off the phone and go take care of it, then it might not help you as much. Do you have time for coaching? Do you have time for training? Because all of a sudden, if I have this new information, what am I going to do with it? One of the things that we say a lot about 100% quality monitoring is that they say, well, I'm finally going to know what's going on. Well, been working at contact centers for a long time. It's rare for me to find any organization that doesn't really know what the problems that their frontline has. They know exactly what the frontline problems are. Now, maybe they're missing one unique one that might make a significant difference in what they're doing, or maybe they are missing some pretty serious compliance. But when it comes to training and coaching and the things that we know we need to do to help somebody be successful and be better, we have a pretty good understanding of that. Where they usually fall down is they don't have the tools or the time in order to do the coaching and do the training that's being done. But it also, with this 100%, it also gives you tremendous data for encouragement. I mean, we talk about finding somebody doing something right, but we can actually find somebody doing something right. So instead of saying, hey, boy, you really showed a lot of empathy on that call. Matter of fact, it was world-class empathy. We might be able to say, listen, you know what? You showed world-class empathy on 900 of your 1,000 calls that you took this month. Did you know that you had a perfect score for 150 calls in a row? Did you know that something that we trained you on last week, you did that 50 out of 50 times? Wow, you fixed that one particular thing. The encouragement and the correction and the capability for an organization that has a desire to do that wants to do that is extraordinary. And then, of course, as I've mentioned before, you can also get compliance results almost immediately. So if we're doing this, is it cheaper? Well, so I took a look at a different set of data. So this one is 200 agents, 55,000 calls a month, talk time of 6 minutes. I put the call summary notes in there because I don't want to lose the potential of the call center notes. Average hourly wage, again, $22. And let's say you do 4 calls a month. That's what you monitor now. So your QM resources, maybe 2, maybe just one resource. So what do I do with that? How do I apply that? What's my ROI associated with that? Well, I'll give you some insight on this one. The annual cost of the technology to do automated quality monitoring, $26,000. If we're able to save 12 seconds on the post-interaction savings, which of course I showed you on the last slide, you can save $52,800 in people costs. So you can pay for your quality monitoring with your post-call summary notes. You obviously get 100% of the calls being monitored. Did you save any QM resources? I don't know. Maybe you eliminated the position. Maybe you moved them somewhere else. So we assume 2 people. So you save somewhere between $0 and $90,000. If you only have 1 person, could you take half their time and apply it somewhere else? If you could take half their time and apply it somewhere else against the technology, it's a wash. You're paying $26,000. You're saving half their salary. You're probably in the borderline there. And then, what's the impact of knowing exactly what's going on, having more encouraging data, having more compliance understanding, have a better understanding of what it is that need to be coached on and trained on, not just one person, but 50 people in a particular area, or 100 people that don't understand this, or a brand new solution that you come out with? What is the impact on CSAT, on AHT, on turnover, on ramp time? What's your return on investment? I didn't even give you a number on this one. I'll let you pick whichever combination that you want. But let's be crystal clear. If you have the post-call summary notes, if that's one of your issues, then your advancement to any sort of return on investment just explodes. It blossoms. It's just completely available there. But even if you don't buy into that particular number, there are so many other ways that you can cost justify simply quality monitoring within your measurement, or look at this particular component. Let's move on to real-time agent assist. So real-time agent assist, if you remember, again, this is being live in the call and being able to provide that information for your frontline rep. And again, that information could be what the next thing is to say, what the information is so that they're available to do it, maybe how to overcome some sort of an objection. Maybe it's giving you some insight into sentiment. Hey, this person started to get a little angry. You're talking a little bit too fast. Maybe you should slow down. Maybe it's giving you some sort of insight into a checklist. Hey, listen, these are the steps that we need to go through to make sure that you're covering compliance. You've done this one, you've done this one, now we're on to this one. There's so many different ways that you can do agent assist. It might simply be access to an AI knowledge base that gives them quick information so that they can go do it, and it's not listening, and it's just bringing in that information associated with that. Is it faster? Well, in new hire ramp, it's spectacular, because now I have the ability to be able to get somebody on the phone quicker because I can give them the assistance to allow them to do that. Does that impact your your team leads? Yes. Does it impact the number of coaches that you might have to have in nesting to allow them to do it? Yes. Also remember that with real-time agent assist and auto quality, I can give them a response on after every single call. We can literally use the AI to coach them on each call while they're in nesting so that they can begin to learn and understand and get trained and focus on the areas they actually need to work on. It's extraordinarily faster for change management. When something occurs in your organization that's a pretty massive change that adds an enormous amount of complication, being able to have real-time agent assist available to walk them through it, again, whether they're roses, daisies, or weeds, since they don't know it, it immediately has an effect on their ability to get an answer quicker, which of course affects your HT. I'm going to show you an example. I don't know whether this is an issue in your particular center, but average handle time is made up of 3 components. It's made up of talk time, post-call work time, and average hold time, which means how much time on average do I put someone on hold on every call? And again, when you're using new people, when things are complicated, when things are difficult, one great example of it, which this won't help, is sometimes people put them on hold because your systems are so slow that you just know it's going to take a while. So you've allowed your reps to put them on hold to do that. I don't think that's best practices, but that may be what you're doing. But a reduction but it also can allow you to reduce average handling time on hold time because rather than having to go find the resource, go put somebody on hold to speak to a team leader, speak to some sort of an expert, we give them access to that information. And then, of course, just the entire company perception that you have of the fact that you have this data readily available for clients and you can respond to them quicker as well. So in the better category, it's easier integration into the company for your new hires, much more accurate for your clients, and your reps will have a lot more success. But there is a downside to the better, and one that we're just learning as we go along, and that is that rep fatigue. The constant bombardment of information coming to them or telling them what to do or where to go is tiring. We've seen this in selling where it's kind of letting you know what's going on with the customer and, hey, try this and hey, try that. They've realized that they can't turn it on all the time because the reps get tired of being, having somebody on top of them the entire time, which of course is the technology. But Agent Assist is an extraordinary tool to get people up to speed, and an extraordinary tool for change management as well as things change, or maybe just for a particular rep in a particular area that they have an issue with, and we only turn it on for there. That's back to, again, understanding your company, understanding your issues, and what the challenges are that you have as well. So what's the ROI on this? And this one's a crazy one, but I'm going to share it with you anyway because I want to make sure you understand this point. So in this one, I've used 700 agents, 508,000 calls a month, pretty long talk time, 9 minutes, 20 seconds. When you're measuring AI and the cost of AI automated quality or the cost of post-interaction summaries, it really is tied to the number of calls that you have and your call volume, but also makes it really easy to come up with these ROIs. So I added here notes and hold 40 seconds using the same $22. The notes is post-contact notes is 15 seconds, but in this particular instance, they have this on hold in their HT where literally every call is taking 20 seconds on average. So with their new people, they've got massive turnover. So they got a ton of people putting people on hold all day long to try to get an answer because they need human bodies on the phone, and it's a struggle for them. Well, look what happens when you use Agent Assist. And in this particular case, we're going to save 15 seconds. We're going to save 15 seconds, and whether it comes from the notes or whether it comes from the hold, you can decide which one it is. Again, you can see this massive savings in this massive labor cost savings, and again, massive money that goes back to the organization. I mean, these are the kind of numbers that get you promoted. These are the kind of numbers that somebody goes, hey, I can save $600,000. Somebody's probably going to listen to that conversation. So with the agentic AI and the virtual coaches, here we are back to again. Now, this is eliminate the people, right? Which we've already have some experience with IVR. Now we're talking about doing it in agentic. So is it faster? Well, can you beat your present IVR trees with straight agentic? Well, man, I hope you can. I hope you can make things more efficient with agentic AI. Is it better? So it depends. It depends whether you're talking to the clients, what their experience is. If it reduces redundant calls, then it's better. If it makes calls more complicated, not so much. We're talking about your reps, because we're going to be removing reps. Well, if it gives the reps that remain better job security, because as we take off more simple calls, there's more reliable calls, there's more calls that are going to be more complicated, which means we're going to need people to do them for a long time, then better job security, then that is going to be better for them. And as always, this is that push-pull when it comes to trying to reduce costs. We want to do this as best we can in every circumstance that we can find when we can offload it. We want to do that. So whether it's better though for the client and their experience, that needs to be determined. That needs to be determined over time. And even for the use of virtual coaches, which would be real-time AI for your front line, again, if you're bombarding them, their stress may go up. You may have to find that balance between where it's helping them versus where it's trying to create some sort of challenges for them. But the great news is, if you understand your center, if you work with a technology vendor that understands the contact center industry, you can find that balance and deliver something that's capable. So is it cheaper? It's not going to be cheaper than an IVR, but it could be cheaper than your frontline employees. And let's take a look at that. So I did this calculation with 500,000 calls. I did 500,000 calls, and I did a 3-minute call length. And I used as a window $9 an hour to $22 an hour plus benefits. So I did 9 up to, added 30% to that. So that's, if you think about that, that's 930. So that's $11.77 up to, I think that number is $28, $29. And I did that because sometimes you look and say, well, you don't understand how offshore I am. We're seriously offshore. We get some serious offshore prices. So I use something as small as $9 an hour up to $22 an hour. And you can see what the cost of the people is to do that, $292K to $715K. Then I did the same thing with automation, and I used some numbers for the IVR per call and agentic per call. And I basically just doubled the cost of the AI. And you can see the double cost because that's pretty well where it's matching up. It could be more, but thought that was a good number. You can see why they're so attractive, because AI could end up being about twice as expensive as your IVR. So if it's not capable, if you can't find the solutions that actually do the work, you're not going to, or solutions that match up to the benefit of AI, then you might stick with your IVR and you might struggle to find some sort of cost justification to do AI. But as you can see, this is why people do the automation. This is why people are so excited, because the cost reduction is pretty dramatic. So what does success look like if I'm implementing AI and it's working? Well, I'm doing better in all of my metrics because I'm impacting the ones that really matter. And I'm also getting extraordinary more agent feedback and coaching impact, which should get me a reduction in turnover. And then the stakeholder value is just we're reducing costs all the way across the board. So success is pretty crystal clear. It's the one thing that leaders are always looking for. They're looking for a return on investment that I can actually put a price tag on and do something with. So, but there are some downsides, right? Which is, well, what happens when I don't get faster, better, cheaper? I don't get all three of them. I just get one of the two. Well, if you get faster, not better, I could get 100% of the AQ, but if you don't deliver it, if you don't have the mechanism in place to deliver it, or coaching, or you're one of these organizations that just doesn't have time to coach, and it's the first thing that you cancel when you have to cancel something because your queues are too high, then you'll get faster because you'll get 100% of the calls, you'll have them available to you, but they might not be better because you don't implement them. And again, that falls within your capability to do that. Better might be one-on-one coaching for hours, right? Which is, what, we love our people. We want to tell them everything we need to know about them. And so we'll one-on-one coach and we'll take them off the phone for anything. Well, that's obviously an exaggeration, but that's going to kill your adherence. So you can't do that. You really have to deliver the most information that you can that's going to energize, help them execute better in the very least amount of time that you can do that. We actually have the way we deliver our information, we something we call My Start, which is super cool, super creative, but super time sensitive to make sure that we get whatever they need to get as quickly as we can get into them in as most engaging way as we can, and teach them, and then get them out of it as quick as we can so they can get on the phone and do what they need to do. And then, of course, we could just be cheaper but frustrating. That would be everything IVR, which we've already talked about, the impact that's had on the organization. So some trade-offs that we don't acknowledge that I just at least want to touch upon that affect what we're doing in the centers themselves. Manager time, right? We just give them too much information. There's too much for them to deal with, and they don't have enough time to deal with it. And all of a sudden they're overloaded, and they don't know what to do with it. The impact on change management, right? And the fact that there's so many things that are going on and so many things that are changing, it impacts the way we do things. Your agents can be overwhelmed. We have to be very, very aware of your agents getting overwhelmed. And then, customer animosity, which is just simply that, we've automated too much and we haven't done it well, and our customers don't like it. And so we're spending the money, we've embraced the technology like RVR, and they simply don't like it. So I wanted to make this as simple as I could in the last couple of minutes that I have, and just tell you a couple of very quick things. So another way to look at all of this automation, all this technology, and faster, better, cheaper is just measure two things: speed and love, right? Speed is trying to make things more effective, more efficient, faster for our customer, faster AHT, all the things that we need to do that are associated with speed. And then love, and that's loving our customers and loving our employees. And then we apply technology to give better love. We apply technology to get better speed. And so I would challenge you need somebody in charge of both of these. First of all, do you have somebody in your company that's in charge of speed, and you have somebody that's in charge of love? And I would tell you that you need both. And I would also say that if you're the person that's in charge of those things, you're probably a jet. You're probably on moving up in the organization, because I'm not sure there's two more important things that you need to manage in a contact center than speed and love. Are you that person? If you aren't, maybe you could volunteer. Maybe you could start that tomorrow. And then the second thing is I can't encourage you enough to get experience in both speed and love, because it will help you. And don't ever lose sight of the fact that culture still wins, because the implementation of AI technology still requires recognition that it really is all about the customer and all about the employee experience. And as you implement technology, it impacts the customer, it impacts the employee. Obviously, when you impact the employees, you impact the customers. And AI needs strong coaching and performance culture to succeed. It won't succeed without it. And it really needs to be, you need to go all in on it in order to, you need to embrace it, because if you're going to get all this information, you have to put it to use. And that really comes down to, what am I going to do with the technology? How do I make use of the technology? Herb Kelleher, which was used to be the president of Southwest Airlines, I think said it best, right? Somebody asked him one time, why was Southwest Airlines so successful? And he says, well, it's pretty simple. We love our employees love our customers. And when you have that much love going around, you can make a lot of money. And that really is the way the components have to work. And it really is driven by the culture that you have in your organization. I can't not show you this slide and say, well, what happens if I stay on the sidelines? What if I don't embrace AI? What if I just kind of push it off? Well, the first thing you're going to have is a cost competitive risk against what you're doing against your competitors, because if they embrace it, you can see the kind of numbers that they can change. I don't know how that impacts the entire organization, but you run a cost competitive risk that other people are able to deliver services that are better than yours for cheaper. The second thing is the quality of service. Because of the embracing of technology, I can do a better job of how I service my customers. I can be more efficient, more effective, catch more things, deliver more things, maybe pick up an issue that I didn't necessarily know that I had. I mean, a really simple example of that would be you do a post-contact IVR survey. You know, the customer answers the question, but you then provide the ability for them to be able to, hey, is there anything else I can help you with? Maybe I've got an answer that you're looking for. I might be able to create and stop the next call because I've used the technology to, while I've got them on the phone, see if I can solve anything else for them again. I don't have to use a person to do it. I can use technology to do it. Customer insight, missed opportunity. With the implementation of AI, we get a lot more customer insight that I can apply to how we service them, how we take care of them, and perhaps what we sell them. That's something that you can't miss. And then this one, if you listen to my podcasts, you'll hear me say this. If you don't implement it, and because you're afraid of it, or you don't want to go down that path, or it's a hassle and you just want to kind of keep things where they are, maybe the person who replaces you will make the change. And I say that somewhat tongue in cheek, but contact centers are a lot like sharks. If they're not moving, they die. And then finally, just some questions to ask your team. Do we have a coaching culture that will act on the insights this AI gives it, or will it just become another dashboard that we ignore? Are we going to use this tool to empower agents, reduce costs, or both? Are we clear on what we want to get out of this right now? Will our leaders and supervisors embrace this as a tool to help, or fear that it's something that replaces them or adds more to their plate? Giving leaders more information only works if you give them the time and the capability to then implement it. One of the cool things about AI is they really don't have to think, because it does the thinking for them. It just allows them to spend time in the relationships where they're implementing them. And you can even get AI to do some of the relationship work as well. Does the vendor truly understand our world and our people, or are they just selling a generic feature set? There are thousands of features that come with this AI. You're unique. You need to apply them accordingly. And then finally, can we start small with a pilot that proves value quickly and builds internal momentum? Which means this sounds really cool, but I'm scared to death. How can I try this? How can I do this? Well, that's why we do these webinars, because the hope is when we do these webinars that you might say, you know what Michael just said was pretty stinking cool. He works with Proponisi. Maybe they'll call us. Our goal here is to inform and educate and get you to know who we are. It's a little bit like the Dr. Seuss Horton Hears a Who. We're screaming, we're here by trying to deliver some sort of value to you. I did promise 45 minutes and I actually went to 48. So I'm going to open it up for questions. And if there aren't any, then I'm going to give you the very best thing that I can do for a contact center person is I'm going to give you minutes back that you can go take a rest, go find some competitive information that might make you more successful, go take this data and tell your boss, or I don't know what else you might do, go coach someone. So Kevin, I'm opening up to questions. Are there any?
Yep, we have one question that came in. What are your thoughts around customer experience between offshore live tier 1 agents versus AI tier 1 agents?
So, that's a really interesting question. On a personal note, I'm constantly saying that I would much rather speak to a machine than someone that doesn't know the language. So I almost sometimes prefer an IVR. The issue is related to your ability to complete the transaction with the technology. And so I'll tell you that one of the benefits and one of the ways to look at it that I think is innovative is that, let's say we're trying to fix a problem on, I don't know, we sell lawnmowers. And we know today that with lawnmowers, there are 6 questions that a client can ask about lawnmowers. And today with an IVR, we have a tendency to only want to we want to be able to fix all 6 before we'll pass that call to an IVR. With agentic AI, you have the ability to, let's say you can solve 4 of them. Well, you use it to figure out which one of those 4 they are, and then you can do that and then send them over. And you could literally start to say, hey, listen, if it's one of these four, I can do it faster and better for you online. If it's one of these two, then you need to speak to someone. Trust me, do it. So I also think that it's also dependent on your business, the relationships you have with your customers, what you're trying to do. A tier one offshore person that's well-trained, and by the way, the single best way to test your, and we see this all the time, way to test your offshore employees is to measure the value and quality of their supervisors. Because what we usually find is that the supervisors, the coaches, the people that are trying to train those folks is where they fail, because they don't have a very good coaching program. They don't use great coaching tools. As a result of that, the people that come on, they don't get any better. And that's where they fall off. And that's why you're looking to chase after them. So I think that there are some instances where agentic AI can be better than the people that you have, again, based on the type of transaction that it is. But I also think that we're going to see a lot more mixing occurring between agentic and humans, where we're literally going to have, based on what it is, one solves the first part of the problem, the other one solves the second part of the problem. And just to show you how stinking cool it is, there is technology that exists today where you can take your Rose and your Rose's voice and put it into the agentic AI, and then they could be talking to the Rose's voice when they're talking to a computer, and the live person's voice, and it's the same voice all the way through. So anyway, hopefully I answered that question for you.
Yep, and we have another question here. What have you seen as the biggest missed opportunity of AI implementations within mid-sized centers?
Man, the biggest. I think the biggest implementation is the purchase of the technology. They bought off on the insight when someone showed them that they could get to one particular call. And they bought off on the fact that they're going to have all these transactions, and they got it, and they don't use any of the data because they don't actually do that very often. And they lost sight of what was important. And what was important was the value that it brought to the client and the value that it brought to the frontline representative. And that would be the first one. I know that it's small in a sense, but I've just seen it so many times. It's just drives me bonkers. But the other one is not explaining it clearly to the frontline reps. And they get this fear that somehow or another they're going to be replaced, or everybody's scared to death of it. And can I tell you how many conversations I've had with people that say, well, we're not going to replace anyone. Well, yes, you are. That's your goal. That's what you've been trying to do for 50 years. You're going to do that. If you can find a way to reduce AHT by 20%, you're going to need less people. And it doesn't necessarily play them. It'll happen naturally. You've got turnover. It occurs. But not explaining the value and the benefit of how this technology is going to help me to be more successful, and why this extra data is going to help us be more successful. And then I guess the third one is not using AI to find people doing something right, and using it and recognizing all the value that I can get, and all the times when, rather than saying, hey, you did a good job once, I can say, hey, you did a good job 275 times, and not taking advantage of that. And usually the reason you don't take advantage of that, sadly, is because we're stuck in the fact that I just don't want to talk to him. Because if I talk to him, I'm going to take him off the phone. If they get off the phone, I'm going to have adherence issues. I'm not going to hit my goals. And we just need to recognize the fact that the more that we talk to our frontline, the more that we communicate with them, the more that we engage them, the more they're going to stick around, the more successful they're going to be. And you're not going to have to worry about the seconds that you've lost. But if you just dribble with them and don't have anything to say to them, and you're not actually helping them, then you are wasting money. I hope that answered the question. I can't see your face. Hopefully I did. Anything else, Kev?
That's it so far. I guess maybe give it a second, see if any more come in, but as of now, that's
well, listen, if on behalf of Proponisi, I want to thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please let us know. If you hated it, let me know too. I can handle it. And we'll have another webinar coming up here. I don't know whether we've picked the subject, Kevin, but we'll have one coming up. Or if you got a subject you'd like us to talk about, let us know. And again, if there's some way we could have a direct conversation with you, and you might consider us as a vendor or somebody that can contribute or learn about your business to see whether we might be able to bring you some value, we would love to invest that time on our side to learn your business learn your challenges, and share with you what we've experienced and see if we might be able to do something with you. Otherwise, enjoy your day. Have a great rest of your day. Go do something spectacular in your call center. Go tell someone in your call center you love them today. That'd be really cool. They probably haven't had that happen, and everybody needs a little more love. So thanks so much. Look forward to talking to you next time. And check out my podcast, The Contact Center Coach. Bye-bye now.